and welcome to another Website Depot podcast. As ever, I'm your host, Greg Benevent, and today I'm lucky to have a very special guest with me, Regina. Regina, how you doing?
Hi, Greg. I'm doing fine. I'm happy to be here. I'm excited. How are you?
That's good. No, that's great. That's good. That's usually that's like the longest and best answer we've had to that. Usually someone just like, hi, I'm okay. Where it's like, no, you're excited. You gave this whole lengthy explanation. That's tremendous. It's well, okay, Regina, if you could tell us just this is one of those podcasts where we talk to people that work here at Website Depot to find out a little bit more about them and what they're doing for the company. So if you could start with that, tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe how you came to be on the Website Depot team here.
Sure thing. I'm a graphic designer. I studied here in Mexico. I studied a bachelor with media design and graphic design. And well, I'm all into that. I love making graphics. I started drawing with simple drawing and doing artsy stuff. I also loved to dance. Yeah, I like that, exploring that creative side of the human being. And then one day I saw an ad for Website Depot. They needed a designer that was bilingual. So I thought I would step in. I thought, well, maybe I could do the job. Maybe my English is not that bad. And I could give it a shot. So then I sent my curriculum and my portfolio. And then I got an answer from Seek, our dear Seek. And yeah, he was the one who interviewed me. It was very nice, actually. It was very funny, actually, because as we were talking a bit, it's very weird to have a job on another country.
I cannot imagine.
I almost didn't believe it. I was like, is this real? I hope it's super shady.
Right.
He actually took like a couple of days to get back to me. So I thought like, oh, maybe it was not real. I don't know, whatever.
Right.
Maybe I just sent someone else my portfolio. But no, it was great.
Okay, well, first off, I can say you're worried about your English. I mean, you're far more articulate than many of the people we've had on this podcast that are fluent in English. So, I mean, and that's the only language they speak. So, by all means, you've got that covered. So, yeah. So, I guess that's great. What a fortuitous thing! You literally stumbled upon this advertisement for Website Depot. So, I guess that sort of leads into my next question: is that you mentioned that you do the graphic design and all that kind of thing. Like, what kind of graphic? How does that help you at Website Depot? Like, what kind of graphic design work do you do here?
Well, I started doing a lot of social media content for all the clients that we have. Well, not for all, but for many of them. And Instagram, Facebook, all those kinds of posts. I started doing newsletters, all that design that I really liked. After those first tryouts, I started getting assigned websites and just the designing part. As we were talking, all the programming and all that goes on afterwards, I'm as empty-minded as anyone far from the business. So I just know how to make everything available for all our other teammates. But what's on my end is making it look pretty. And I really enjoy doing website design. Yeah, I think that's my favorite part of working at Website Depot. I really like doing that.
Okay, well, first off, it's wonderful to speak to somebody at this company who also does not understand the technical aspects of it. I mean, I simply do the writing and I do the podcast. I don't get the tech part either. Well, that's what's great about having our team is that we have so many people that really do understand those tech aspects and absolutely are just, speaking of being fluent, they're just incredible at that. Well, I got to ask, I mean, that's you've obviously done so many different things for the company at this point between the graphics for the social media and the newsletters. And you said your favorite was the graphic design for the websites. I mean, what about it is that you're like, wow, this is your favorite thing of the stuff that you've done here?
Well, I think my favorite part about it is that you get to make everything from scratch. So you just have basic things that you have to do. Like in a homepage, you must have a menu and you must have the logo and stuff like that. But other than that, I think there's so many possibilities of arranging everything. You can start with videos or you can start with images. You can go directly to like a menu setup. Yeah, I think I really enjoy that. And also, I like that the directions from our teammates are also very good. I think that's something that Website Depot like definitely gets like super check marks and A+. All the directions I've gotten from my teammates are very great. Like they're very punctual and this needs to go here because of this. And other than that, they don't wander around in, I don't know, maybe I just don't like it or something like that. It's like, no, this doesn't work because of this, but we can make it work by doing this. And yeah, I like that. I like that a lot.
No, that's great. So if what I hear you saying is that like, okay, when it's time for you to design the graphics for a new website, there's like, okay, there are all these million different options, so many different ways this could go, roads that could be traveled. And then your teammates are like, hey, here's some suggestions about solid ideas about where to start, but here's why this works and here's why this other thing might not work. Whereas but even within that, it sounds like they're like, hey, while we're giving you these, clear directions, it also sounds like there's a lot of leeway within which for you to, I was about to say express yourself, but really to, use your artistic talents to make this website come to life.
Yeah, of course, definitely. Just as you said, I think, and mostly their directions are towards what the clients need, right? So they might have a better idea of what they need for whatever their goals are. And maybe that's the part I'm not in contact like directly with the clients, like asking them every little thing, like they're more in touch with the clients. So then I appreciate having that voice that goes like in between. And then, yeah, they're the ones that get all the raw comments and then they just deliver them to me in a specific way.
No, that's great. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. That would be a better way within which to work. Well, I mean, I guess that makes a lot of sense in terms of the macro. So like, are there, without giving away too many state secrets, this will certainly be in YouTube. Is there any like is there something off the top of your mind where you were like, hey, I'm particularly proud about the way this came together, or the way that the team did this, or some kind of project that you're like, wow, that was a real triumph for Website Depot?
I'm currently very happy working with Alan because we're doing a website for Block's website. They're like a climbing equipment. I'm very proud of it because it's been a very long process because it's a very big page and they have like so many different types of handles and walls and pads and everything. It's like very detailed. I don't know, like for myself, I feel very proud because I think it's been one of the largest projects I've been put to task. Wow. And yeah, I like that.
Cool. Well, I mean, that sounds fascinating. I mean, what have you done for this client? Like you mentioned all these different little things. I mean, what have you put up on there?
I have no clue how many pages we've done.
That is a big project.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Also, that's another thing I really like about Website Depot is that we get so many clients from so many different businesses, or like, yeah, it could be like a food industry or a design, like interior design or home improvements, lawyers. I don't know, like every little client is very different and very particular. And well, I appreciate that so much because you get to try so many different styles and you get to build a very specific, like graphic aspect of what they do. And I like that.
I mean, it's so interesting to hear you say that because I do a lot of the writing for the different clients. And obviously, there's a different voice, for every single client, a different, entirely way of writing and what they want to talk about, even with many of our different attorney clients and all that. And it just hit me that, of course, there'd have to be something similar for graphic design, which you do. I mean, there has to be something where even if, hey, they're in a similar industry, that the graphic design and the branding of it has to be so different as well, right?
Yes, of course. And even like, I was just thinking about the lawyer part of Website Depot, even though they're all very serious, or that's what I'm guessing a good lawyer would like to show himself like.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, it's still very different, like even in colors, typography, every little detail makes each brand and each client, yeah, like a very particular business or brand.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, going back a bit, I believe you mentioned that like so many of the Website Depot team at this point. I mean, you're working remotely, as are we all. I mean, I know there's the office. Some folks go into that, but if I remember correctly, you're working a bit more remotely, perhaps, than many of us. Where are you coming in from? If you can tell us
Yeah.
that. Mhm.
I'm in Mexico.
Oh, wow.
My town is called Cuernavaca, and
Okay.
it's in Morelos. That's the state name. So
Okay.
yeah,
Thank you for saying that. I did not know. Yeah. Yeah.
I know it's very particular because it's not even the city or the capital. No, no, it's a small town actually.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it's very funny as you mentioned. I've never had this experience, like I've always met the people who I worked with. And now
Mm.
all you guys, well, I know you, but like I know you from Zoom meetings or Slack
Right.
meetings or regular chatting. There's people that I haven't even heard their voice, and that's very different and very funny.
No,
Yeah.
I absolutely. I work remotely from Website Depot too, but I also live, my apartment's half an hour from the office down there on Sunset. That is very different.
Yeah.
So I mean, but by that time, are you on the Pacific time zone, or like where are you on the same time as
Oh
us, or where
no,
are you? Oh,
I'm 2 hours ahead of you actually, and
oh,
I'm
okay.
not. Right now it's 3:22 p.m.
Okay, I had to look at my clock too. Okay, so that's sorry. I don't know why I couldn't do the math of 2 hours, but okay. Again, speaking of challenges that you've overcome, being 2 hours ahead of the rest of your team, would certainly present any number of those. I might imagine it. So how do you make? I mean, now I'm fascinated. How do you make that schedule work, Regina?
I actually try to get up very early and start
Oh.
working. Yeah, there's sometimes near like later in the day where I get requests for doing things, and I'm like, I was about to finish my work time. But it's actually works out pretty good because I think the organization is great and within the team,
Mhm.
and there's always like a lot of, well, I think time, like a big time frame to do things. So I
Mm.
like that a lot. I think that's only organization. Like really, it's just about that. And I think it's good
Mhm.
because, well, I can imagine if I was one of my teammates and then I wake up and I already have whatever I was asking for. It's like, oh, okay, great, I have it. I can show it to the client, and I think that's that's something good that I get up early and then I just like I start delivering work, and I think it works for both ways.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's funny as you mentioned. I remember, when I travel home to go see my mother on the East Coast, I'm been 3 hours ahead of the team, and I still, work when I'm visiting her. But there's that same feeling of like, okay, I'm going to get up early and send them all this stuff, and then hope that happens. That same thing. It's like I very much want to give like almost like this breakfast of work. Like they'll wake up and it'll just simply be laid
Yeah,
out on in front of them like some kind of buffet of work there.
exactly.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And like
Exactly.
well, it sounds like, I mean, it's as you were speaking there, I couldn't help but be struck by use the word organization. It seems like that's a victory of organization on both sides of that relationship. Organization from Website Depot that you're able to give you that work, but also organization on your behalf that you're able to be like, okay, I'm gonna
Yeah.
get up and do this versus I'm just gonna, okay, it's 2 hours ahead, I'm going to the bar. Like that seems
Goodbye.
right. That seems like you're doing
Yeah.
quite a bit of organization there too.
Yeah, of course. And I think that's pretty much the best way remote work. Yeah, because I think one can get really caught up in, being at home and just like it could be very weird and overwhelming to just like start blacking off work and just like I'll
Oh yeah.
just do it later and then have a ton of work. I don't like that. I really get overwhelmed when I have a lot of work. So
Mhm.
I really do prefer like having designated time to do certain things, because otherwise I just get mixed up. Also, like a designated space. These are like very simple things, but I really think they work like all together. They make like a very easygoing and like happy workplace, you know, even if it's your home, even if it's your usual schedule. I think organizing that makes it a lot easier.
You know, that's so interesting you say that. I want to ask more about that, just because like when the pandemic first hit, and that's when Danny began me writing, daily articles about, from the perspective of Website Depot and what the company can do. And so much of them, particularly early on, although every few months or so, I'd be tasked with writing another one about like, hey, here's, best practices for remote working, as well as updates for best practices of remote working. And by the time I got to the second or third article every 3 months, I was trying to find a new way to say, hey, have a dedicated workspace, or not to include it, but almost never couldn't include it because it's such an important part. And you're obviously someone that's really made it work for you, Regina. If you could just say a little bit about, how you organized or lay out or, have perfected your dedicated working remote space there.
Yeah, well, I started, for example, I thought, maybe it's best if I work like everything from 8 to 5, something like that, straight up. But then I started thinking that I didn't like sitting all day, and I was like, I don't like it. I think this is not. I'm used to walking a lot more, and then I thought like I'm not gonna be able to keep this for a long time. So then I started doing like more of fragments of time. And I find that that's one of the best tools, because it not only like gives my body a full stretch, like just get up and do something, but my mind also. And, working in something like, I'm guessing about this, but like creative working, all these things, you got to get the ideas flowing. And if you're just like not in the mood and just like caught up in like, this is too much, I just don't want to do this, well then it's very unlikely that good ideas are going to come your way.
For sure.
I think taking a break is very important, as we were mentioning it. I think designated break times are key, because if one just says like, okay, I'm just gonna go get coffee and I'll be back whenever, well, it's very likely that one will not come back anytime soon. I think
I was just thinking, I know there's like a scientific phrase about break times, and I remember thinking it was impossible to stick to that. I forget if it was like, is it 10 minutes every hour or 15 minutes every 2 hours or something, where I read it and I'm like, this seems like I would go nuts just simply trying to figure out like, okay, have I had my specific 15 minutes of walking around every hour and a half or whatever it was, like that. That seems like more of a responsibility than actually doing my job. What's kind of like ballpark estimates did you do for the breaks, or is it just like, hey, I did this project, we're gonna go out for a minute, or how's it go for you?
I try to do it that way better. Like after I finish this 3 or 4 tasks, I'm gonna take a break. I'm just gonna go outside. I'm gonna take a walk. I'm gonna go by. Also, like you mentioned it's not about like making it harder for one, because it's like, like I'm not gonna add more tasks to me, because no, that's impossible. But no, like I use that time, for example, if I need to buy something, or I need to, get anything extra done for the day, then I can use that time and just, I don't know, if I finish these 4 tasks, then I'll just go buy milk, whatever, and I'll just go milk. And I think that works fine. It also makes for next project to be easier to start, because if I leave in the middle of a project, then maybe I get like, what time is it? I don't know. What was I doing? I don't remember. I just lost the string of this. I think that helps.
No, that makes all the sense in the world. Okay, now you mentioned, you tend to walk, you tend to take that break after the successful completion of a project. Is that the kind of thing where it's like, okay, I'm gonna, for lack of a better phrase, literally clear your mind? Like you're gonna go out, you're gonna come back totally fresh, and then boom, be ready to go? Is it something like that?
Yeah, it's pretty much that. And I think also, as you mentioned, the thing about remote working is also that you get like a more of a chance of doing things. I mean, if you can be organized, then you can do like different schedules, you know, like you don't necessarily have to leave at 5 p.m. because office closes. I mean, you can work a little bit later if you feel like you like that, then you can do that, and it's totally okay. So if, for example, my break takes, I don't know, whatever I want to do takes a bit longer to, like, you know, get accomplished and conquered, then I'll just do it. I'll just plan it out though. Like, for example, I wanted to watch a short film.
Okay.
That was 30 minutes long. So I thought, well, this is going to take a bit more because I need like 15 minutes to get there, 30 minutes to watch this, and then.
Oh, okay. You'll be watching it in the theater. It's not like it's just coming up on your screen. Okay, gotcha.
No, it was on, in the theater. So I thought, okay, this is going to take a little bit longer, but I think it's a great opportunity. I just know I have to get back after it ends and not like wander off.
Right.
And yeah, it clears my mind, but it also fills it in with new ideas. So that was a fun activity. I like doing that.
No, that's great. I mean, I also couldn't help but be struck by how responsible that was in terms of what you watched during the break. You know, you weren't like, I'm going to watch this Marvel movie. I'm not watching this TV series. I'm not even watching a full length film. I'm going to see this short that runs as long as a sitcom, and then I'm going back to work. I mean, that is as mentioned before, that is a triumph of organization, whether you intended it as such or not. Wow. I did have one more question that I was curious about. Go back to something that you mentioned very early on in our time together, and it's a total shot in the dark. But I'm curious. You mentioned that in addition to graphic design, you also had a background in dance, and I wondered if in some way that at all informed your graphic design, or even in some small way the work that you've done here. I'd be very curious to hear what kind of influence that might have had on anything you do in your graphic design.
Well, I'm pretty sure it does. That all the things that one does, our everyday life, they end up influencing what we do, even in our workspace, you know?
I agree with that 100%.
I think I can see it very clearly in, for example, what we do, because it's more on that creative side. But even in jobs that are more of like, you know, maybe raw numbers and just making sure certain things are done, I think even there, whatever we do on the outside, it always ends up complementing what we do, you know, in our work time. But yeah, as you mentioned, this dance background is something that I've been doing for quite a long time now. But yeah, I think it complements because even, you know, dance can be very visual. I think a graphic design in the end is about shapes and colors and what you feel with certain things. So I think in the end, they all really match up. And well, I love combining them. I love doing projects that end up mixing both creative sides. Yeah, like I really wish I would do more of that because I think it goes very well together.
No, that's a lovely sentiment, and it makes all the sense in the world. I mean, of course, all of the things in our lives don't, you know, disappear at the time we log in to go to work. No, it was so gratifying to hear you talk about the way there is a real fusion and how they inform all the work you do, even in ways that maybe you don't necessarily notice at the time when you're making something. Well, that's all the questions I had. The last thing I always ask everyone is, you know, is there something else that you would like to say to the people watching or listening to this? It's okay if you don't.
No, I think that's it for my end. I'm very happy.
Yes, you were great. That was tremendous. Yeah, no, absolutely. The raise the roof gesture. This is appropriate. I hope you could see it with this goofy background I have. Yes. Thank you so much for coming on today, Regina. This was great. I was glad to have you on the podcast, and frankly, glad to have you on the Website Depot team. We're going to be doing a lot more of these, and this was certainly a wonderful representation of them. So on behalf of Website Depot, my name is Greg Benevent. Take it easy. Have a good night.